As Donald Trump headed back to Mar-a-Lago for yet another golfing vacation after crashing the American economy again this past week, he was taking questions from the press and got smacked in the face by a microphone. Here, watch as that happen.
Mr. President, obviously you're concerned about the situation in Gaza. What are the hopes now to get the hostages back?
She just became a big story tonight. Right? Yes, sir. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's called karma. At the same time that was happening, there were protests by veterans across the country, but also in front of the VA Medical Center in St. Louis. I want you to watch it. Shout out to the veterans who are protesting. Here, play this clip. Let's also talk about the 5 things that Donald Trump did this week. You know how Elon Musk is demanding that the federal workers provide the list of 5 things or else. Take a look. Donald Trump tanked the stock market some more. He hosted a Tesla product placement event at the White House. He said that CNN and MSNBC are illegal in front of the Department of Justice. During that same press conference he held at the Department of Justice, he also praised the January 6th insurrectionists at the DOJ kind of main grand room. He got hit with a microphone, which you just saw, and then he went to play golf even more. Lots of people are expecting that we're either already in a recession or we're heading into a great recession or even a depression as a result of Trump's chaotic and disastrous economic policies, if you even want to call him making posts on social media policy. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers says the U.S. recession odds are now nearing 50%. By the way, do you remember those headlines like the one from Business Insider heading into 2025 with the Trump regime where they said a 0% chance of a recession? Remember the headlines when former President Biden was taking office and business journals or business newspapers like Bloomberg were saying 100% chance of recession, and that the 100% chance was a massive blow to then President Biden, and then Biden navigated out of that. There was no recession. There was a soft landing and the economy was actually booming. Just take a look at the market. Stock tumbles last week. They call it a correction, but I call it a crash as investors sour on Donald Trump. If you looked at your 401ks or your pensions or whatever over the past few weeks, it was a disastrous thing to look at. It seems like every day Donald Trump would wake up, post something crazy, and the markets would tank. Right now, we're seeing from University of Michigan, which takes the consumer sentiment surveys, it's the worst consumer sentiment since 2022. Also, it is the worst University of Michigan inflation expectation since 1993. But the big news in the University of Michigan data was not just the inflation expectations. If you look what people are saying about the jobs market, it's expected change in unemployment. People's views of the expected change in unemployment is the worst since the 2008 Great Recession, and it's perhaps even getting worse than that. But Donald Trump's regime has to have on Fox, their propaganda network, Kellyanne Conway, who says consumer confidence is up because what's down is up, what's up is down, war is peace. Yeah, I think we've heard that from 1984. Here, play this clip.
Go down, consumer confidence going up. Everything is turning up Trump, and now
everything she says is just absolutely false. Those are those alternative facts. Trump, meanwhile, is sending out surveys like this to his supporters on his email list. Do you still support Doge? I'm launching the presidential fundraising blitz before my mid-month fundraising deadline. And it's like, please help me, Ben. I need money for my fundraising blitz. Fundraising for what? And as you're destroying even your own supporters' pensions and 401ks, and as you haven't done anything you promised, prices are up, housing is less affordable, as you screwed the economy, you're fundraising, you're asking for money for you who's enriched himself billions of dollars since you've taken office. As I was mentioning before, Donald Trump on Friday held that press conference inside the Department of Justice in their grand ballroom, and Donald Trump again was mystified, stupefied by the word groceries. Groceries. He's like, that's an old-fashioned word, groceries. Here, play this clip.
All things that we wanted to do, because then everything else is going to be coming down. We want it to come down. We want bacon to come down, and groceries, a term I used to use. It's sort of an old-fashioned term, but I used to use.
Then Donald Trump declares at the DOJ that CNN and MSNBC are illegal. Here, watch this.
And I believe that CNN and MSDNC, who literally write 97.6% bad about me, are political arms of the Democrat Party. And in my opinion, they're really corrupt and they're illegal. What they do is illegal. It makes no difference how big a victory I had. I can have the biggest victory in history.
Then Donald Trump brags at the DOJ about pardoning the January 6th insurrectionists, who he calls political prisoners. Again, he's doing this at the DOJ. He's making the DOJ prosecutors in D.C. who were involved even in the prosecution, if they haven't already been fired. But he's asking law and order people to watch him brag about letting on the street some of the most vile and despicable crooks, criminals, people who beat cops, freaking terrorists, a lot of them. But here's what he has to say. Play this clip.
Please convict me. Don't say that. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been grossly mistreated. We removed the senior FBI officials who misdirected resources to send SWAT teams after grandmothers and J6 hostages, and it was a.
Then the propaganda state regime network known as Fox brings on Sean Duffy, Donald Trump's Secretary of Transportation, who got famous on Real World Road Rules Challenge a few decades ago. That's how he made a name for himself. It's the reality show, dystopian reality show presidency. And here he keeps talking. There's all these plane issues. I remember a plane caught on fire in the past 2 days as well in Denver. He's like, we're looking into this DEI. I think it's we gotta look closer. There must be all this DEI everywhere. Just so stupid. Here, play this clip.
We should do an investigation. I want to know, are there DEI practices still in place? Because the president has been incredibly clear. He wants the best and the brightest air traffic controllers controlling our skies. I agree with him on that. So we're going to do an OIG investigation. We're going to have we're working with a law firm who's going to do an independent investigation into our air traffic control system. And if there is any issues with regard to DEI, anything other than the best and the brightest, I'm going to be transparent. I'll come back on your show, Harris.
Secretary Sean Duffy, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Midas Mighty, Ben Meiselas here from the MeidasTouch Network. I know you probably see me on these YouTube videos or listen to me on audio podcasts, but what you don't see is behind the scenes how I have to actually run this media business. And I rely on something called Ramp to help me because look, receipts are coming in from reporters and hosts and contractors across the country. There are subscriptions that we have for various services, and keeping track of it all could be a nightmare. That's why I use Ramp. Ramp takes care of all of the logistical stuff. Everyone's talking about Ramp. One CFO told me it was like hiring a full-time employee just for expense management, except easier. When you switch to Ramp, you'll sleep easier at night the way I do. Look, manually logging receipts, chasing approvals, spending days on month-end close is low leverage, busy work that wastes time. So Ramp takes care of that and makes it easy. Let me tell you what Ramp is. It's a free corporate card that automates away your entire expense process. The moment your team makes a purchase, Ramp handles everything. Receipt matching, categorization, approvals, the works. It has a hugely important strategic impact on running your business efficiently. So for most companies, their finance teams spend about 80% of their time doing tactical busy work, like chasing down expenses and reconciling statements, and only 20% on high value strategic thinking. Ramp flips that equation, and it's easy to switch to Ramp. For new members, Ramp offers a complimentary white glove onboarding service to help you migrate from your current corporate card to start using Ramp. Don't wait, switch to Ramp. It's like hiring a full-time employee just for expense management, only easier. Over 25,000 businesses, including ours, trust Ramp, including shopping Shopify, and the Boys and Girls Club of America. And now for a limited time, listeners of this show can get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/Meidas. That's ramp.com/Meidas, ramp.com/MEIDAS. Card issued by Sutton Bank. Then the Trump regime brings on Howard Lutnick, or puts out Howard Lutnick on state regime media known as Fox. And Howard Lutnick is apparently hearing for the first time that the Atlanta Federal Reserve is predicting a 2.4% contraction of the GDP in the first quarter, whereas it was expected before to grow at around 3% if Donald Trump literally just did nothing. Former President Biden had GDP higher than China and hitting record levels and leading the world. Now it's expected to be a negative 2.4%. Watch Howard Lutnick's responses. He's like, what? What is this?
We've seen worries about growth. I know you said you're not expecting a recession, but investors are on edge over the possibility of a recession this year after the Atlanta Federal Reserve said that it's predicting a 2.4% contraction in the first quarter. And of course, President Trump would not
what? Wait. Say that again. A what? What?
The Atlanta Federal Reserve.
2.4% contraction?
Correct. First quarter.
Okay, right here, right now. That is ridiculous.
Okay. Have you spoken to the president of the Atlanta Federal Reserve? Have you told
Absolutely
the Atlanta?
not.
Have you told the Atlanta Fed that you say it's ridiculous because they're out with this contraction prediction for the? And I know that you and President Trump are handed a mess. I'm not arguing that, but now we're talking about recession, and I asked President Trump about it this week, and he didn't say no.
Take a look as well, the red flags popping up at supermarkets across Canada as they continue to boycott all things American, as they boycott American tourism. They're indicating which are Canadian-made products. Also, yesterday was the swearing in of the new Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Here's what he had to say. Let's play it.
We will never, ever, in any way, shape, or form, be part of the United States. America is not Canada. Look at the ceremony we just had. You could not have had that ceremony. You would not have that ceremony in America. Look at the cabinet behind me. You would not have that cabinet in America. You do not have that cabinet in America. We are a very fundamentally different country.
And Donald Trump continues to talk about America conquering Canada, Canada becoming the 51st state, Oh Canada becoming an anthem of the state in the United States. I mean, just the most heinous and despicable things. Shout out, by the way, to all of our Canadian supporters. We here at the MeidasTouch Network, and frankly, more Americans than people who support Trump, stand in solidarity with you. Do your thing if you got to boycott tourism, if you got to boycott American products, to stand up to the Trump regime. Do what you got to do. We totally understand what you're going through, and we don't support the attacks on your sovereignty. It is despicable stuff by the Trump regime. The Trump regime continues to suck up to Vladimir Putin. First thing yesterday morning, Donald Trump literally posted verbatim Putin propaganda. He posted a total lie saying that Ukrainian troops were surrounded by Russian forces who are about to massacre the Ukrainian troops. And then Ukraine had to respond, no, this is Putin propaganda. Putin's giving you false information. There's been no material change on the battlefield where Russia previously said that it would be able to take Kyiv in 3 days. It wasn't able to. We've been discussing Russia's inability to take the territories that it's been trying to. Ukraine courageously pushing back against Russia. Donald Trump literally regurgitating those Putin talking points and then basically saying, so as a result, that's why, we think Ukraine needs to give up all of this stuff in order to have a ceasefire. And Ukraine said, look, we're willing to have a ceasefire, but we treat us like a sovereign nation, and we want security guarantees to make sure it's meaningful and peaceful. Putin doesn't want a ceasefire. And on Russian propaganda TV, their version of Fox, their hosts are basically saying, here's our response to your ceasefire. Why would we want to agree to a ceasefire? That's what we're seeing, out there as well. Also, it is worth noting that the Doge team working at the Social Security Administration appears to be among the largest Doge units deployed to any governmental agency. We know that the Trump regime is firing lots of people who work in the Social Security Administration office. And we know that Elon Musk has said Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. From the Republican budget, they're getting $880 billion of Medicaid. We know that they're firing, all of these veterans, all of these government workers. And one of the things, though, that we're going to see what the outcome ultimately is, but two different federal judges, one in a federal court in Maryland, another in a federal court in the Northern District of California, ruled that Trump's terminations of these probationary employees, the tens of thousands who Trump fired, those were unlawful terminations. And both of these courts, in kind of somewhat overlapping consensual circles kind of orders, said that these probationary employees need to be rehired by the Trump regime, which the Trump regime is saying, no, we fired them. We want these government workers gone. We try to get rid of them. And the federal courts are saying, nope, they have to be rehired. You didn't conduct a reduction in force analysis, an RIF, and you lied and defamed these workers and said you were firing them for cause. You can't just lie and defame and say you fired people for cause, for not doing their job, who are doing their job. So bring them back. And ultimately, if you want to fire them, you have to go through the process and actually provide cause and justification for what you're doing. So we'll keep you posted with that and more. Trump's now on vacation again at taxpayer expense. Every time he does this, it costs millions and millions of dollars. And that's why I've showed you this data before. But last month, there was more federal spending at $603 billion than any month in the history of the United States of America. So for all that Doge was saying, we're doing this, that, and the other thing, which was all lies, more federal government spending last month than ever, than any month in former President Biden's administration as well. So it's all BS. Anyway, we'll keep you posted throughout the day. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers, and thanks for watching.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.